define your area of expertise. We are going to talk about what your expertise is and how to define it. But first,
as a speaker.
But first, remember to like and subscribe. We need your likes, we need your subscriptions so that we can continue to grow this channel and really make a difference in the lives of speakers and wannabe speakers. So, Bobby, how do you define your expertise?
Define your expertise. This is a great... I'm just going to go in the beginning. I'm going to talk about the poor folks that come up to me and say, "Hey, I'm a business coach, and I teach people, and I motivate business owners to do cool stuff." And then I ask them about, oh, well, cool. What businesses have you owned? What have you done? I'm like, oh, I haven't owned any businesses. I just know I'm supposed to teach business owners how to be successful. Wait a minute. Is that really happened? Oh yeah, absolutely. That's happened many times, because now I'm I have radar around it. It's like, oh, interesting, you're a coach, and I know a lot of folks. There's a lot of coaches out there, and they get a bad rap, and unfortunately, because there's a lot of bad ones out there, but there are also really good coaches. But I'm just throwing that out there first. I want to get that out of the way. Well, not just wannabe coaches, just people that don't have expertise, that say I'm in this space, but they don't actually have expertise. So
how do you define your area of expertise? We're looking at people that actually have a track record then.
Right.
I mean, ultimately,
yes.
that is the most important thing. If you don't have any track record on this thing, you're probably not an expert at it. You might know a lot of things about it, but you're probably not an expert. Now, I've talked in the past about you just have to be one step ahead of your audience, which is true. But who is your audience? I mean, are your audience the ultra beginners, or is your audience people that are in the field and doing stuff and they need improvement? So that really helps you to define how you define yourself as an expert as well.
Yeah, expert means expert. We all have heard the 10,000 hour deal. If you don't have 10,000 hours, you're probably not an expert. And that's important. It's really important. If you've been down a road and you've been living this life of this certain kind of way for 10 years, then you're an expert in that, whatever that looks like, even hardships, or getting over the bad things in your life. If you've had a whole lot of experience with that kind of stuff, you were abused in an abusive relationship, or you were married to an abusive person and you got out of that you're an expert. You're an expert. But you do need to be in that. I had somebody tell me once, I don't have to have lived the way somebody else has lived to be able to connect to them. And that is true, but then they made the statement that I can be just as connected as somebody that has lived in that same situation as that. And I don't necessarily agree with that. If you've lived that same life and another person's lived that life, you're going to connect. No matter how cool you are, if you don't have any experience in it, you're not going to connect the same.
We're all familiar with the story of a person that gets passed up for the promotion because some kid from college came in and was hired in the place, right, in that spot, and with no experience, and they have a lot of book smarts, they know a lot of things, but whenever that happens, it's almost inevitable. Whenever that happens, the people revolt. They don't accept this new manager for who they're supposed to be, because they don't know squat. They don't know the business. They don't know the industry. They just know a lot of book smarts. And the truth be told, they probably are an expert to some degree because they've been studying it for years, perhaps. But there is a lot to be accepted with all that actual experience at 10,000 hours,
yeah.
Right?
So let's say you have a proven track record. There's still another way to kind of tell really well if this is your expertise or a direction you should go, and it's really simple. Do people ask you? your opinion about this stuff because they look at you as the expert? Do you get people that say, oh yeah, you're in this industry, can you tell me how to do this or that? If there are people that are wanting to know how to get into what you do or things like that, that's a sign that that's your expertise. It's really important. It's a very simple thing, but it's very important to know, oh yeah, you know what? People are always coming and talking to me about this. Wow, I need to look at that. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do or talk or be. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's a real gauge for not only how much of an expert you are, but how much your audience actually needs your expertise as to whether or not people are asking you about it. Are people interested? Do people need the information? So if people are asking you about it, then there's a pretty good chance that not only are you an expert, but there's also a need for the information that you have to offer.
I want to step that up a notch. So let's say you've got an expertise. Now you need to know, is that expertise viable as something to give to folks that they would purchase, that they would want to buy or have, or that you could get on a speaking engagement with? Is it the right expertise? And how do you do that? Any ideas, Brett?
Well, I come from an innovation space, so my experience and expertise is in how to innovate, and a big part of that is just asking for feedback. When I started to pick my expertise, it was more about, hey, what do you want to know? I'm talking to people, and I say, hey, these are my areas of expertise. This is my list of things that I can teach. What are you interested in? What do you want to know? So my big thing from an innovation standpoint is ask the audience, ask questions, and find out what they want.
I think also the uniqueness of your take on it matters. It's really, there's two kind of pieces to this coin. The uniqueness, and also, is there competitors? If there aren't any competitors in the space of your expertise, that could be that you're at the forefront of something really great, but it's usually not. There's usually a reason that people aren't filling a space in the either speaker or knowledge or learning or whatever that is, because there's no real want there. So you've got to be unique and engaging and interesting in the way that you think. I mean, we watch TED Talks all the time that have these very unique ideas that get us to think and that are different than what's out there mainstream or whatever. So there's this crazy tip: be unique, yet also be what other people want or what other people are wanting out in the space.
That's huge. I remember when I first started out as a public speaker, and I chose networking. Well, as I dove into that a little bit further, my uniqueness was more about networking from the inside out rather than just being a networker. So I taught about that, and you can figure out your own expertise, your own niche in that field by just digging a little bit further. But of course, you're always welcome to connect with us. Please make sure to comment below so that we can respond to your questions, answer your questions, and really get involved. Let's have a conversation. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the comments.